Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Anthony Cummins. I'm a historical researcher and author. Please enjoy the video.
I noticed some people are commenting on the horns. Okie dokie. Right. So, the fall of the Iga Mono, the fall of Iga Ninja, or Iga Shinobi. Now, I've been asked this question by one of you guys called Daniel. And his question was basically, why are Iga Mono so low level, even though they become elite guards now of the palace? So what I'm doing today is I'm working from one of my first books, literally In Search of the Ninja. So if you don't have a copy of this, get a copy. We're on In Search of the Ninja, and if you want to follow along with me, it's page 152. Now I'll read a bit from this in a while, but the account I'm using here, the following comes from the Keicho Kenmon-shu, which is a government document from 1650, and it records about Iga Mono, basically. So, if you don't know, Iga Mono means people of Iga. They are well known for their ability in espionage and commando tactics and what you would consider ninja. They are heavily connected to the word shinobi, shinobi no mono, shinobi shu, shinobi gumi. They are absolutely, without doubt, intertwined. We have other documents that say Iga Mono, ninja. It says shinobi no mono, but you get the idea. So we know they're there. Now, we know before Oda Nobunaga basically takes over Japan, Iga is a place of samurai, okay? These are samurai. Now, in this document, they're actually referred to as Hyakusho samurai, which is the derogatory term to mean peasant samurai or rural samurai. It doesn't mean they're not samurai. It doesn't mean they're half peasant, half samurai. They are samurai, but not us city court folk. Samurai have totally different levels different levels of social standing. You get the highest of the high samurai who are intermarried into the imperial family, all the way down to the samurai, well, all the way down to the ronin who has no physical land that he can call his own, but all the way down to the lowest rung of samurai, which are those in the peasant areas, you know, living alongside the villagers. So you've got like hills like Iga, and you literally have some hills. You've got a village of peasants that are doing the work, farmers and everything, and you've got a samurai in control of it, and he's a peasant samurai. He's not a peasant as a samurai, he's a samurai in peasant area, basically. So this is these people. Now, but what this means is you have lower level samurai who are still samurai, not half samurai, not anything. They're samurai who are rural, live out on the outskirts of society, but are doing their job, enjoying their ancestral homes. They are not in a bad place. They have fortified manor houses. They're very proud of their houses. They've got servants. They have beautiful clothes. They've got double swords. They've got armor. They're absolutely fine. They don't think of them as like whole and threadbare. These guys are like posh farmers, okay? But because these documents are written by officials who are in court and in the thingy, they're seen as lesser because they don't have 4 palaces, around the house. Because these people are keeping palaces in Edo and palaces in Kyoto and all that, and they say all the rural people with 1 house. Ew, how thingy. So don't get this idea that they got no teeth and they're like, oh, I'm a peasant. It's not that. So you have these samurai in Iga doing their Iga things, and then Oda Nobunaga comes along and he literally takes over Iga, destroys them. Not including Koka, that's a different story. But he takes over them and he replaces the samurai with other people, with other samurai from other places, and they are displaced. They are literally got nothing to do. They're off their land, or their land is taken and they keep their houses. It's complex what actually happens. I don't really know, but we know that they're taken away from having the power over Iga. They're still there, and don't forget, many of them die. So many die that I think Toda Takotora, I think it's him, actually asks for Iga Mono to come back. So most of them are murdered in Iga. It's a slaughter. And then they bring the Iga families back from across Japan and say, hey, come back and re-establish yourself, but you're lesser. It's not your land anymore. We've given it to this conquering samurai. You don't conquer a place and then give it back to them. That's not. You allow them to stay there, but you conquer it and set up people there. So straight away, Iga people have dropped. Now, before this happens, Hattori Hanzo's father goes outside to Mikawa, and he's in Mikawa Prefecture, and he does his stuff. He has a son, Devil Hanzo, who's known about in the song. He becomes Tokugawa Ieyasu's friend. Obviously, this is when Tokugawa was called Mikawa. You know, sorry, he's not called Mikawa. He's from Mikawa. You got to remember this is before he's called Tokugawa. So he's actually there. They're growing up, or roughly they meet at some point. And then what happens is we're in the wars with Oda Nobunaga, and Akechi kills Oda Nobunaga, and Tokugawa has got to go across Iga. Now he's got to cross Iga and get back to Mikawa, and he's like that. Oh, and he's like, you know, what are we gonna do? Don't forget, Tokugawa was also a hostage earlier on, so he does move about a bit. So we don't really know when him and Hattori Hanzo came to be, you know, together as friends, or as, you know, master-servant relationship. We don't know that. I've got to work that out yet. So basically, you've got this idea that Tokugawa has got across Iga, and as a result, he hires, official documents say, he hires 200 people of these peasant samurai, these samurai who live out there, yeah? And they exchange hostages so he can get across. So basically, the Iga people give him a hostage of theirs, and they say, okay, we'll take you across. So he will kill the hostage if they betray him, but they don't betray him, they get across. And there's no mention of Hattori Hanzo at this point. You know, actually being on that mission, that's a different, more detailed conversation. And what happens is he gets across, and then of course he goes to Sekigahara and he takes over the country, and he hires Igamono to come and work with him. And he's like, there you go, guys, you're Igamono, you helped me. Please, I'll hire 200 of you. But we do have a document that says 70 died in the first sort of campaigns. So what, and then we do know, if you've been to Tokyo, any of you guys out there, you can actually go to the 100 guard house, and it's where they had 100 guards, and they had 4 different units who rotate, and one of them was the Iga 100, probably 100 because 100 of them died at battle, so they just kept the 100 people there. Now, what happened, this is the reason took me 7 minutes to get there, is because what you find here is that in Iga, Oda Nobunaga took over, yeah, and Tokugawa's still doing his stuff. And then that means that the once samurai of Iga are displaced, dead, and new people pulled back, the lesser sons or whatever, brought back. And they said, well, you can come back, live in Iga and keep your families alive, but we own the land and we will tell you what you do. So now they've lost status. And what their status is, I'm not quite sure, but they drop down. But the people who were pulled out by Tokugawa are then still from these ex-samurai families. So they're a little bit in the middle of landless. They're given a salary from Tokugawa Ieyasu, but they've literally just lost their lands because Oda Nobunaga is the one that displaces them. And it isn't till a couple of years later, or a few years later, that Tokugawa Ieyasu takes them up. So they've been displaced, replaced, they're floating around, they help Tokugawa get across after a year or so after, and then it's a case of, oh, right, well, I'll hire 200 of you as my personal retinue, you know, whether they give them lands, this is where it gets difficult, because as you change into the Edo period, guys, the salary system changes, and instead of a samurai sat in his village getting his money, giving the tax to the government, or, you know, taking that aspect, what happens is the government bring everyone into the cities and say, I'll tell you what, well, the money comes direct to central and we give it to you instead. So it's a three-way system. It used to be peasant, samurai, government, and the government would say you keep so much, or you keep this amount because you need to work for me as a warrior, and the government would keep their own lands. But what happened is the government said all samurai come in, and then we'll take the money from them and give it to you. And it gets a little bit, and I'll be honest with you, I've not mastered the economics of it all yet. It's a little bit there. So that's all over. So what you're left with is some warriors who are from hardened samurai ninja families. So they're samurai families trained in the shinobi arts. They've very recently, within the last decade, been displaced. They've probably come from all over the country to come back to Iga to resettle and repopulate, have some sons. They then help Tokugawa race across. 200 of them are took into war with him, and probably about 100 die. The remaining 100 are placed at the barracks in in Tokyo, and are left there. But what you find then is that there's an argument they're placed under the son of Hattori Hanzo Devil. So they're placed under Hattori Hanzo number 3, and he apparently is a cock. He's a proper knob, and he's like, my dad's Hattori Hanzo, ah ha ha, and he's having a go at everyone, and they're like rebelling again. They're like, let's kill this kid, he's annoying, and they're proper annoyed with him. So what happens is there's a little bit of a scuffle and everything, and they calm it all down, and in the end, they are simply left with some income. I don't know the exact amount, I don't know what that is, but they end up being, let me just think this here. So let me read this bit. After Ieyasu's crossing of Iga, such and such a person and such a person were hired, and also other men of Iga wanted to serve Lord Ieyasu, and thus gained employment. However, the crossing of Iga by Ieyasu soon faded from his mind, so he made the men of Iga, men on foot, Doshin, which was a rank, that I've added that bit in, so basically Doshin, lesser samurai. But this was not well received by them, because some of them were of good samurai stock back in their hometown. This was a problem for Iwami Dono, Hattori Hanzo number 3, I've put that in to show who he is, for he was from a lower class of Hattori line, a line lower than their own ancestors, and therefore Hanzo's men rebelled. They said that he was of a lower class. The Hattori family had come to Mikawa earlier and were given a large fight, and it was only in this manner that he took control of Iga people under him, who were once samurai but now treated as lower people genin. So Hattori Hanzo, as I said, his dad went to Mikawa, his line. Hattori Hanzo 2 was a champion warrior, everyone knows he was great. He gives it to his idiot of a son, who then these proper hardened samurai are like, why are we under this? No, bro. I don't want to be. We're from higher stock than he. Back in Iga, the Hattori line was low. Why are the Hattori high now? And it's all because of Hattori number 2. So this idea that the senior go below the junior, and they're like, what are we doing? So they're left with these annoyed men on a lower salary, not even allowed samurai status, like Doshin status, one sword, and like, that would really piss you off. Like, really madly annoy you. And then they're not elite guards per se. What they are is surplus to requirement. What do you do with 100 ninja that you don't need? You demote them, you pay them less, and you make them, but you know they're good at their job, so you make them guards of the castle. Now, they're angry with this, but there's what they're going to do. They're not going to assassinate the Tokugawa, because they just get murdered and their homeland have been burned. They're not going to assassinate him. So, and they're actually pledged allegiance to him. It's the person that is controlling them that they're annoyed with, not Tokugawa. But of course, then they've been given less cash. So you've got then 200 years of the Iga Mono not living in Iga, being possibly born outside of Iga, the original ones, because they had to return to Iga, who then give birth to lots of other men of Iga who have never probably been to Iga, or very rare, and who then Tokyo, they'll go into Tokyo, go into the red light district, do what they want, and their only job is to guard the castle. Now, we know that the 8th shogun, which came from the Kishu Tokugawa clan, which is with Natori Ryu and everything, he brought his own spies with him. He brought his own castle guards with him. And they are possibly, don't quote me on this one, descended from Kokomono. But that's still up in debate at the minute. I need to clear the documents on that. And what happens is they have a position in this guard, but they're given the title Iga Mono because they are allowed to see the Lord. Like I said, I don't remember the name exactly. If somebody remembers the name, please put it in there. I'd have to go through all my notes. But there's a term that happens in the old days. You used to be able to just talk to the Lord. You're on campaign. You'd be like, some people even bumped into lords on horses by accident and got swiped at. They were like, you were literally online with them. But once they live in a castle on the hill with a mile either side of castle walls, suddenly it all starts changing, and you say, okay, well, we can't talk to that lord, and you can't talk to him. What level are you? So even though Iga Mono are Doshin, a lower samurai, or half samurai, or, foot soldier-esque, they are given a special dispensation to stay in the garden when the lord is there. And that's where we get into the famous Oniwa Ban, who are Iga Mono, but not from Iga. They're from Wakayama. So what you find is that these guards are not gardeners. That does my tits in that. We actually have a description of them. They wear hakama and a sword. So they wear hakama and a sword, and they're not disguised as gardeners. So on one side, you've got Kishu Han Igamono, who are not from Iga and have no connection to Iga. And on the other side, you're at the Hattori Hanzo gate, you have 100 Iga. And even at the 100 Ban gate, they have some Iga there who are from Iga, but never been there because it's been hundreds of years, sort of, Joe. It goes along. So when you get these two branches of samurai guards who are the government is getting no more land. As we know, the samurai are declining in money and the merchant class is rising, but the samurai are still in control. So what do? They start cutting pay. They start allotting inheritance to the single male instead of dividing it between all males. Because in the original days, samurai used to divide it between all boys, because what would happen is they'd go out to war and get more land and your family would either be destroyed or carry on. So that was the case. So what we find here is that we get a decline in money. Then, of course, the Koka people are turning up with the Ban Senshukai saying, please give us a job. Please give us a job. We've got no money. Everybody's not training in ninjutsu anymore. Please give us a job. They're going, no, go home. You know, blah, blah, blah. And the Igamono, you can have less pay, and everybody's like a bit annoyed. And so by the end, they're not these elite warrior guards. They're actually really... Oh, sorry, one more bit. So then you get Chikamatsu, who complains about Kokamono. I know these are not Igamono, it's slightly different, but they're comparable. He's saying that they just don't do anything anymore. They're glorified guards who don't do anything, and they don't know their own systems. So year by year, another account says that Igamono in Edo Palace just take bribes. They're really horrible people who are a little bit in, and we know that Kishu people who are given the name Iga are actually the ones who check out people for jobs. So they're probably taking bribes on the side. They're getting gifts. They're lotting people they want to be there. The other Igamono are probably not happy with these ones here. And overall, it just becomes a bedraggled mess of, like, lining each other's pockets, underpaid palace guards who are making up their money by bribes. And there's even an account of some of the ladies of the court lining up the Igamono in the snow and throwing snowballs at them because they're just deemed as lesser people. So all the way from elite shinobi units from 1580-81, they then decline into pretty much overhyped guards who are underpaid, with who bribe people, and who are no more than night patrolmen, and who are literally fallen from samurai grace. But they're not the only ones. Other people also fell from samurai grace, and they were just at the wrong point, at the wrong cut-off time for being samurai. Horns of Doom. Right, so there you go, chaps. That's what it's about. I hope, Daniel, that answers your question. It was a bit of a long video. I hope that doesn't bore anyone to death. I haven't got the picture 100% in my head because I have to go through there's a lot of things I need to follow up on, like the rebellion, the economics of who gets paid, but it takes a lot of translation time to get these answers done, and we don't need those details yet. It would be nice to have them, but we would need another translator on that, really, to give it full time, get it sorted. So that's information that has been out for years, like literally a decade, and it should, just read through this. So guys, if you haven't got it, In Search of the Ninja, get it. It's one of my older ones, so it's not as up to date as everything else, but it's still got some of the really important information in there. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.